Lovely viewers, this is Admire, your host. As always, we do bring to you amazing guests. But today, we've got an amazing organization that is making a difference within the community. My dad of business. Jeff.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Thank you for bringing me in.
You know, I can't do justice if I'm going to introduce you. All I know is your name, Jeff Madzingo.
Yeah.
The CEO for Diaspora Insurance.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Do you want to give like a small perspective that who are you?
Yeah, thank you so much to the viewers who don't know me and everyone else tuning in. My name is Jeff Madzingo. I'm the CEO of Diaspora Insurance, headquartered in the UK, and we run an organization, like I said, Diaspora Insurance, which has been running this year, counting 14 years,
Wow.
and has really changed the narrative in terms of giving diasporans peace of mind.
Wow. 14 years.
Yeah.
As an organization.
Correct, yeah.
So today are we going to be focusing on you or are we going to be focusing on the organization? What do you want?
You can do both. You can focus on both, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can mix and match to make it interesting and natural.
Yeah. No, we can do that.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you tell me, how did you start Diaspora Insurance?
Yeah, it started like I said, 14 years ago, and Diaspora Insurance was really inspired by a lot of things. And sometimes when you start an organization, you can't even tell what's inspiring you to do that. But I've always had this knack of wanting to create solutions for every problem that I see around. I always find myself saying, what is our solution? Because my view is that every problem, if you can understand that it's a problem, it means you can understand that it needs a solution. So the focus should not be mourning about the problem, but about solving the problem.
I like that.
Yeah, so the Diaspora Insurance, then the motivation was to create a solution. I've said it that civilization per se is when a people can create solutions for their common good. So it doesn't augur well when a people are suffering year in, year out, wounded by the same problem. Every time there's a bereavement, people are caught in situations of begging. And I've said that losing someone is traumatizing enough, but to lose someone and be immediately reduced to a beggar because you don't have enough resources or financial capacity to give your loved ones a dignified send-off or a celebrated life, then you find yourself begging the wider community, talking language like every little helps. It reduces people to beggars, and it creates a double trauma of grieving and begging. So the starting of Diaspora Insurance was really informed by trying to solve that pain where communities were suffering. And unfortunately, for me as an individual, suffering some serious personal tragedies, where I found myself also being reduced to a beggar when I'm bereaved. It wasn't an experience that you would wish on anyone. So that also inspired us to take the journey to say there has to be a solution. There has to be a solution. It brings the wider community or a people into disrepute to say that every time there's a problem, you are reduced to beggars and you do nothing about it. So we took a position that there needs to be a solution designed by diasporans for diasporans, because we understand our pains and we can design a solution better for our needs and our reality. So there were some serious personal tragedies that I had to go through to wake up to the reality that people needed a solution. In 2011, in February, my friend just collapsed in the gym. The following day, the brother called me to say, "Did you know Lincoln is in hospital?" And then he got ready, driving to the hospital. He collapsed and he died in UK. And we didn't have enough funds to take the body to Zimbabwe for burial, and we found ourselves in a situation of breathing and begging, literally. Then February 2012,
that's just
the following year, exactly, same month, to the point that I started to dread to say what's going to happen in February 2013. February 2012, the only brother who had joined me in the UK was hit by a car going to work. He got seriously injured. Then the following week, he was supposed to check in. They moved him from a hospital called Warrington in UK to a bigger hospital, Liverpool Hospital, for hip operation. But he, again, preparing to go to the theater, he collapsed and he just collapsed and died. He died on the bed to the theater. So it was very, very traumatizing. But you start to realize that the trauma of losing someone is compounded seriously by the factor of not having enough funds to give them a dignified send-off, especially if it involves the diaspora where the families are scattered. You got family back home, you got families all over the world, but the family back home would need to have a closure. And for most generation migrants, you find yourself people wanting to be taken back home, especially in the early years of living in the diaspora, because your ties with home, your roots will be still very strong. Unlike when people have lived offshore for a number of years, and when you start to lose people who matter to you back home, the narrative becomes a bit different. That's why increasingly now you see a lot of people being buried abroad, because the people who matter to them back home may not longer be there, or the ties have weakened over the time. But the point is, if you suffer diaspora death, the cost of diaspora death is heavy. Very, very. It's not cheap to die. It's really not cheap to die. The end of life expenses involved are very, very heavy, and the financial shock, the financial risk that diasporans face needs to be managed by a proper solution. That's why we ended up finding ourselves being very inspired to do the diaspora insurance, and this is where we are today.
Beautiful. No, Jeff, I just want to put you on the spot quickly, right, in terms of numbers. Because I know you love your numbers and you go through your numbers. Would you flashback in there? Someone has got Diaspora Insurance. Unfortunately, they pass on when they are in the UK. And say, for example, they are in Australia. How much does an individual get?
The amount of cover depends on we do give a maximum, but the actual number per cover amount you do on the individual life is the choice of the policy holder. But the amount of cover that we give is informed by a number of factors. The main factor is that the policy is designed to deal with end of life expenses. So it's a funeral policy. So it's meant to make sure that it comfortably covers the funeral expenses or end of life expenses, sometimes referred to as final expenses. So that's the purpose of the cover. So if someone in Australia, the maximum we allow per life is 30,000 Australian dollars. So if you imagine a family of 5, yourself, your spouse, say for example 3 children, you can cover for 30 times 5, that's 150,000. But the good thing with the diaspora insurance is that it also allows the diasporans to cover family back home.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, the diaspora insurance was designed by diasporans for diasporans. What that means is that the policy speaks to the reality and the needs of the diasporans. As a diasporan, you understand your pains, you understand the solutions that best addresses those pains. That's why with the diaspora insurance, you find that it's the only policy I know in the world which allows you to have cover offshore like in Australia, and on the same policy add your mother in Gokwe, Zimbabwe, or in Kano, Nigeria, or you can cover your parents in Mombasa, Kenya, or in Soweto in South Africa. You can cover, so the diaspora, wherever they are in the world, you can cover families back home.
How many countries do you cover?
At the moment, we say we are covering 25 African nationalities and counting, meaning we are adding more countries as and when informed by the number of diasporans in the market that we are targeting, and also the need depending of if it's in Australia, do we have enough diaspora numbers to justify the covering of that particular nation. But at the moment we are doing 25 African nationalities. And when we say African nationalities, we basically mean African diaspora nationalities, such that when we say we cover Kenyans wherever they are in the world. So any Kenyan in the world in the diaspora qualifies to be covered. When they cover themselves, they can choose to add their parents back home, sister back home, brother back home, whoever they want to choose. But that is because, like I said, the policy was designed to address the pains of the diasporans. An average diasporan, in the bigger picture of family dynamics, especially in the African context, the nature of our families is that an average diasporan becomes a cash cow for the clan. You are almost taking responsibility for all the troubles of your people, be it school fees, be it health issues. Mom is not feeling well, people expect you to chip in. This uncle has died. You find yourself sometimes being based in Sydney, Australia, based in New York, USA, based in London. You get to know about funerals back home before people who are on the ground back home. To the point that at one point, I ended up in trouble myself. I got to know about a funeral back home before my big brothers back home knew, and I then sent a message or phoned them to say very sorry on the loss of this person, and they were not quite amused that I know about the funeral back home. They are back home and they don't know about it.
That's like this young brother. What's happening?
What's happening? Yeah, but it's because sometimes people realize when they are in trouble, where can support immediately come from? But so the diasporans tend to intervene and support families. But it's not always that people intervene and support because they can afford it. It's because the expectation is that you can do something about it. So you end up, a lot of diasporans having really stressed to say, You are going out of your way. Sometimes you are supporting using borrowed funds. You need to work hard, extra hard to repay that monies, or you end up with bad credit record. And so we're saying, as Diaspora Insurance, when there's a funeral back home, we don't want that financial shock or financial risk to strike your pocket. We want to say to you, cover yourself in the diaspora, cover people who matter to you back home, such that if anything happens to any of them, all you need is to inform the insurance company to say, I've got a problem. Then you do the claim and you get the monies to deal with the funeral, rather than starting to say, I don't even have money to travel for the funeral. You end up traveling on a credit card. When you get home, you find yourself with a lot more other expenses, because people expect that you are here from Sydney, from New York, therefore no more cabbages.
The funeral.
No more cabbages, no more namo. It's now a funeral. We have to. Yeah, so it's the reality that a lot of diasporans face. So what we then, like I said, is to address the needs of the diaspora. The policy allows you to cover yourself in the diaspora and allows you to cover family back home, which is very, very critical.
Very key thing that you just mentioned in there, you cover 25 countries. Tell me, within your organization, how many languages do you and your team speak?
Oh, quite a lot, quite a lot, because most of the corridors that we support, we want people to be able to say, I'm not quite understanding, because part of the treating customers fairly is to make sure that people get the jargon-free language in terms of the product that they are looking to get. So we make sure that our product is jargon free, but not only that. If someone then say, I want to speak in my vernacular, they should be able to have someone in the team who can speak their language. So you find that most of the people are English speaking, and most of our clients are English speaking, but we have quite a lot of clients also who are French speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've got the countries like DRC, Rwanda, you go countries like Mali, Senegal, Burkina Faso, Guinea. Quite a number of our clients and the countries that we cover are French speaking. So we provide for that.
Okay.
And even our literature, we've got literature in French. And then in vernacular, we have people who may want to speak in their home language, like Twi in Ghana, Shona, Ndebele, Zulu, Chewa, Tswana. So we've got all those languages and nationalities in our support structure, in our call center, so that someone can always get if they want things explained in vernacular, they can always get that. So it's part of the treating customers fairly that we remove the jargon from the literature and from the explanations when we advise clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Jeff, you're an interesting human being. I mean, you explaining all this process, what inspired you to have Diaspora Insurance. Would like to know more about you as Jeff. Where did you grow up in?
Yeah,
I want to know that.
Yeah, I grew up in Zimbabwe.
Which part of Zimbabwe?
Yeah, in since I was from birth until I left the village to go to secondary school, I was just based in Kutu.
Okay.
Yeah, just another boy in the village, walking to school barefooted, and whether it's scorching heat or it's winter, it's very cold. It was just that village life where you don't even have shoes, and at best you get uniform for Christmas.
Yeah. For Christmas,
Yeah. So if you get a gift for Christmas,
Yeah.
you get your new uniform.
You're right.
So it was just that village life until we left the village. In fact, when we were still in the village, I remember 1978, 1979, schools were closed due to the Liberation War. And we ended up not going to school. And just to became just boys in the village herding cattle. Just herding cattle, taking turns and going hunting, grasshopper, eating fruits, wild fruits.
Okay.
And hunting or going to looking for crickets and stuff. So it was just a village life where you had to survive, and we knew what every season was providing in terms of wild fruits, and we would know where to get them.
Wow.
It's whether it was Matowe, or it was Chechete, or it was Njirimombe, Tsubu, Nengenu, Swaza, Ute, all those fruits. We knew each season which fruit is in season, where do you get it. And it was just life in the village. Then going to secondary, I went to secondary school, Fletcher High School in Gweru.
Okay.
We were.
But before I go to Fletcher, Jeff, I want to understand. We're in the village, right? Are there things that you feel, say today, you say, you know what, I've learned this when I was still in the village.
I've
been inspired by this. You know?
Village life, village life really was a tough life. But I've said it before that life, you are only short if there's someone tall.
I love that. You're only short if someone is tall.
Yeah, you're only ugly if someone is beautiful. On your own, you are just who you are.
You're fine.
You're fine.
You're just
what you are, and you are fine. So the toughness of the village life was not visible.
No, it
was just life, organic stuff. You eat what you grow, and every season was providing. Or bad years, drought years, of course, things would be tough, but. It was just a tough life. Tough life on its own is just life. It becomes visibly tough when it's juxtaposed against good life with something else. That's the point. So we're just, to us, life was us and the horizon. Us and the horizon. Grew up, I remember when we were young and probably going into teenagers or so, and we visited my sister, who was married to the headmaster of a school in Kutu, the Chimombe, and being given food to eat and being given.
I can see your smile. So you tell me, Goma, your sister was married to this headmaster in Kutu, right?
Yeah.
And you guys went there, right?
Yeah. We visited. I've got a twin brother. My twin brother, Sam.
Okay.
So, we used to go everywhere together. So, we go there or visited, and you find yourself being offered rice and some fork and knife to use to eat. And it was like crying to say, I don't want it. I'll end up poking myself.
I'll use my experienced hands.
Yeah. Or maybe even thinking I'll end up swallowing the fork. So it was just some village life and growing up there.
Yeah.
Everything was just like very localized and organic, and you eat what you grow. But the beauty of the village life, like I said, it was that it was just normal life to us. Coexisting with everything. It was more natural. No, these artificial things, So we're tough boys.
Yeah.
Tough boys.
I think you're still a tough. It's still a tough cookie.
Yeah. So, but the beauty of it also was that it would teach you to survive. You become a survivor. And what you didn't have, you would make. If you don't have toys, you make toys. If you needed to go hunting or catch grasshoppers or crickets, you have to find a way of doing it.
Yeah.
You have to invent and to be innovative and create your own tools to be able to do things. And also, what he was teaching us to be productive in life were things like if it's farming, you find yourself with your small piece. If it's a garden, you have your small piece to do whatever you can do and produce your own vegetables and things like that. And if it's chickens at the house, at the household, you find yourself maybe you've got your own this that you call them at mashon. They had chickens.
Yeah.
Those
Free range.
Yeah, so you find you have your own and you make sure it's got a nest. The eggs are okay until so you find yourself being quite productive or learning how to produce, and the excitement of saying that I've done something and it has given results and fruits as well. But also I would recall when I was thinking in grade 5, grade 6, being so annoyed by the fact that during the mango season, the orchard at the school would have nice mangoes, but the teachers would always eat all the nice mangoes. The teachers would want to eat all the nice mangoes.
Yeah.
Then when it really gets into season and the teachers can't eat all of them, they would then start to give the children. But what was annoying me most was that some kids from neighboring households in the villages, they had like mango trees at their homesteads, and the trees were giving nice fruit, and they would come to school with big, nice mangoes without having to wait for the teachers.
No.
But at our homestead, there wasn't. I think there were 2 or so mango trees. So sometimes they were not treated like. So sometimes they will not give much fruit, and or the fruit will rot before it even falls down.
Oh, really?
I was getting so annoyed about that.
Okay.
Then I just said I'll deal with this. I don't know how I decided to do that.
Yeah.
Every time I get a nice mango, a nice avocado, nice oranges, I would make sure that I planted the seeds.
Oh.
So I went into this spree of planting all the seeds, anything, mango, oranges, avocados. I will plant the seeds, and do a big nursery.
Okay.
And started growing a big plot of a big orchard at the homestead. Over the years, I think some years, 5 years, when I was in secondary, they grew up into big trees, and now I think the whole neighborhood, our village homestead has got the biggest orchard. Now you don't have to wait for the teachers. It's not the biggest orchard. The point that if it's mango season, my mom would just harvest and put them by the road to say, help yourself. Oh, wow. Wow. So I was just growing. Say, this mango is too nice to throw away the seed. Make sure I plant it and nurture the tree, and if it's winter season, you would need it to make sure that they are covered so that they don't because they get really burned by the cold and they would die until they are mature. Otherwise, so this concept of seeding, growing something, has always been with you. It's on reflection, you realize that it was something that you kind of. I think it's the training of the village where you have to create a solution. Basically, you see a problem, you want to create a solution and say, what do I do about this? Because my view is that you always have problems in life, but the position to take is that you are not your problems. You are not your problems. You are your problems' conqueror. You need to rise above your problem and create a solution to your problems.
I like that.
So that's it. That's has always been my view and my perception to say problems will be there, but everyone needs to rise up and say, if I can see there's a problem, then I can at least think through to say what is the solution, rather than mourning and feeling defeated. Yeah, so the solution may not give you results that you want immediately. It may be a long-term solution, but at least if something is in motion, it's always better than giving up and surrendering to say, I'm defeated and I'm beaten. So, yeah.
No, you got a point in there. You got a point in there.
Yeah.
So when in the village, we stay with your parents in there as well?
Yeah, we stayed with the parents. My parents, apparently my father was I've said this before, my father was a charming boy.
Oh, okay. I like to hear that.
He married 2 sisters.
Oh, really?
So in the end, we grew up a very big family. 2 sisters, so 3 parents basically.
Okay.
And then all together, growing up into adults, professionals, were 18 children.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah,
lovely.
18 children.
Okay.
So it was that big family surviving on peasant farming. So the parents had to be very hardworking, very innovative, and making sure that every season there was something happening. There are some homesteads who would do their planting season, harvest a bit, and pack it until next planting season.
Yeah.
With our homestead, every season something was happening. If it's the winter, the winter crops. If it's the rain season, it's the rain season crops. If there are no crops, they are brewing beer to sell. If it's not that, they are doing, or sometimes they used to call like what they used to call baroni.
Okay,
where
what is that
term was coming from. But it would be like people, they would cook, people would come and sometimes they share or buy.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the poverty of the village life, we were like the superpower of the village.
Within the village.
Yeah.
Within the
village, we were like the superpowers of the village.
Okay.
To the point that people would always be coming to our homestead to do some. We used to call it kuruira. Yeah, where you come to work for food or work for something.
Okay.
But the main attraction really at our homestead, it was the rains in the 70s, 80s were not as erratic as now. So
fair enough.
So for winter crops, we used to have a very big field in the village. Very, very big field of sugarcane.
Oh.
So in winter, then sugarcane are in season, and people would come to do some work, and then get paid by sugarcane.
Okay.
So would come to buy sugarcane to go and resell and make some money. And the village and the communal lives were developed, and there were systems there where they would do like festivals. And they used to be called show.
Okay.
It was like a show, agricultural show, and they would do that at the village or chieftainship level, where people would gather.
Okay.
And they would do sports. Then they would do things like people selling all sorts of things. So my parents were always very active, making sure that they bring up the big family. But not only that, also as the older brothers and sisters grew up, chipping in, sacrificing a lot to make sure that the younger ones also get it through. Which answers your question about how did someone come from the village
exactly
into Fletcher.
Exactly, but Fletcher is not an average school.
Yeah,
I know that.
So it was that system where our parents, our older brothers, sisters sacrificed a lot to make sure that he asked the young ones to go through the system.
Okay.
I had one of my sisters who was teaching at Fletcher, married to one of the dead masters. Fletcher. So that helped a lot in getting us into Fletcher.
Of course.
We didn't even do interviews or anything. We just went to school.
But the school fees, you still have to pay the school fees anyway.
Yeah. It's school fees,
you know,
we're having to be paid, but in terms of saying getting a place or anything, just told you finish grade 7, you come to Fletcher.
I remember those form 1 entrance tests. Remember?
You did.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
A bit of corruption there.
Fair, Didi.
But we were credit to the school because we were good.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. So you did your high school at Fletcher. Yeah. And did you go up to Form 4 or Form 6?
I did all my secondary school at Fletcher.
Okay.
Myself and my twin.
Okay.
We did our secondary school Form 1 to Form 6 at Fletcher.
Right.
Then we proceeded to university.
Which university did you go?
Me, I went to National University of Science and Technology, where the second intake for NASTI.
Oh, really? In Blawayo?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the second intake, again, that's just a case of saying there is a new university and I will go there.
Okay. No, let's stop on that. Your brother, where did he go?
My brother actually went to UZ and I went to NASTI.
I mean, there was UZ.
Yeah.
Where was that?
Yeah, there was UZ, then there was NASTI.
Yeah.
The choices for UZ were very tight because if you got a bit lower points, then you find yourself doing BAE or doing subject. The subjects that will take you maybe into teaching or programs like Pollard and stuff.
You didn't like that?
No, we didn't like that. So we opted to go to try and get into NASTI for commercial degree. So
okay.
That's how we ended up going for the commercial option.
I think that is always reflecting that you're a risk taker.
Yeah.
Because how can you there were only 2 universities at that time, right?
Yeah, there were only 2 universities.
And UZ was well established
it was.
Over the years.
There was actually a lot of people you would feel sorry for that they had even higher points, but they opted to go and do programs that
UZ.
At that time, it was more like Justin and it UZ.
University of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, but where the program that you were doing was taking you to
was different.
It wasn't as good as going for. People only got to realize that NAST was a very good option
a bit later on.
When we were in 3rd year and doing attachment. So it was probably the first of the higher education institution in Zimbabwe, but then that time it wasn't many of them anyway.
Yeah.
But it was like NASTI offering attachment to say you do your first year at uni, second year at uni, 3rd year you go into industry.
Okay.
And you have work experience.
Right.
So we started to earn good money. Because there was what they called the ZimDef, which was the Zimbabwe Manpower Development.
Yeah, I remember that fund. Yeah.
So that fund would pay us those days in the 90s, like mid-90s, they would pay us like $800. Yeah.
Per month.
You still get your payout. So and it would happen that ZimDef will come mid-month.
Yeah.
Your payout would come
end of the month.
Payout was normally per term.
Okay.
But then if you are at a good company, they will also pay you month end.
Oh.
So we ended up being very, very rich. To the point that
in those standards.
The Madara at work would know who to borrow money. So you work for friends. His friends at work who know that these boys are never broke. It was quite nice to know that you could save some money at that age, and it was good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you study?
I studied a BCom specializing in finance. finance.
In finance.
Yeah, at NASTI there were during our days there were 6 degrees in commerce.
Okay.
But there were others for sciences and others had different programs, engineering and stuff.
Okay.
But
Okay.
in commerce we had the first year, the whole batch, we would do one same subject.
Of course. Yeah.
Then you start specializing from year the second year.
Second year.
The third year, then fourth year you finish. So there was options after first year to do either finance, to do marketing, to do management, to do accounting, to do insurance, and to do banking.
Okay.
Yeah, so I opted to do finance. So doing insurance now, people
Exactly.
people can't even understand it. Well, there are people who did insurance when we were at university, and I did finance, and now I'm full time into insurance.
But is that helping now? Do you think you've picked a number of things from
Yeah, I think
your
it's
first
because
degree?
of the work experience, the way things turned out when I left Zimbabwe. I left Zimbabwe. I was already a bank manager then.
Okay.
When I got a British Council scholarship to
Oh,
go
nice.
abroad to UK to do my masters in international banking and finance. So when I finished my MBA, I think that's where my insurance life kind of started. Yeah, but otherwise, back then I did my finance. I was working in the bank, and it was just there was nothing insurance about my career. The only insurance about my career then was my friend, who was very good at insurance.
Okay.
And he went on to be a top actuary in the World Bank.
Oh, nice.
Shadrach Mafumo.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So he was like the nearest thing to me in terms of insurance. I didn't do any insurance.
Okay. Okay. Fast forward there, Jeff. You tell me. Do you have a family now?
Yeah, I've got a family. I've got I'm married, 3 kids.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
good. How old are your kids?
The oldest one is 23 now, then 18, then I've got the young one, 2 girls, then 1 young boy who's 13 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any of them are involved with the business?
Oh yes, I try to make sure that my kids, same way I was brought up in the field, doing my own wuku, doing my own small garden, or doing my own thing. I make sure that my kids are really hands-on in terms of the business. It's business is I think the thing with the African business is most African business people sometimes we don't get our kids involved, and we kill the succession part of our businesses. It's like someone running a shop in the village, and the old man just going to order, sell. When the old man dies, the kids don't know anything about what the old man was doing, and the business just immediately dies as well. So it's typically the kufa kwangu zvarova type of business. So with myself, and as advice to all most business people, always make sure that your children are involved in the whatever you're doing, and also not just your children. Create systems that makes your business resilient, and your business should outlive you. Your business is not created. You didn't create a business to service you. It's to service the clients. So the business should be able to outlive the owner or the founder. So I try to make sure my kids are involved in the business. I should try to make sure that the business has got resilience to outlive me, and the capacity in terms of the personnel, in terms of systems, to be able to survive beyond me.
Okay.
The purpose of the business is not to service me.
No.
It's funding the business on behalf of the clients, so the business should outlive me. And that's why you find the businesses that are owned by families, like sometimes all these multinational businesses you see, they were started by someone. Some point they were just a small family business. Talk of even Ford Motors, talk of Hugo Boss, talk of all these multinational companies. They were started by someone. But because they got the formula right in terms of succession, in terms of resilience, in terms of systems, they are able to celebrate centenary, maybe 200 years, maybe 300 years. We as African business people, we need to be able to do that as well. Say the business will outlive the owner, but it can only do so if you
Put in succession.
if you put the systems and the resilience in place. It won't happen by accident that the business can outlive you or is resilient. It happens by design. It happens by design. So getting your children involved in your business is quite something good as well.
And Jeff,
They may not be the people to run it in the future, but at some point, it has to have that. They have to have that knowledge about the business. But we tend to want to say we are doing so well. My children, all they know is chewing the money. Or chopping the money. Chopping the money, but they don't even know. So I make sure that if we are doing work in the field, we are doing anything, my children are involved and they play a part. It's important. It's part of the training that you have to work to earn, and they need to understand the source of their income, or you need to appreciate the food on the table.
you do. In terms of succession, you've mentioned about the family. I can see that we're passionate about that.
Yeah.
You spoke about the systems as well.
Yeah.
Trying to manage succession within the business. What other strategies would you advise business people? Succession
There are key
plans.
strategies that as a business owner, you should not always employ people who are less clever than you.
Oh, that's a big one.
Sometimes people choose to employ people that they think they can control, they can manage, they can do things. But it's important for the business to have very independent thinkers, people who can support the business beyond yourself. So it's very critical. Otherwise, it's actually a strategy to be able to hire people who are cleverer than you. Yeah. If you can attract people who are cleverer than you in your business, it means your business has got a future. But if you hire people who are daft, and you always make sure that the yes when it is a wrong decision, then the business will not be resilient.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So it's important to have people who can say, boss, this is not correct. This is wrong. What if we do this?
Okay.
No, we need this, we need it. We know we can't waste money on this. Let's do this. That's what you want for a business to be able to survive and grow long term.
Okay. And I see right now you are just sitting in Australia and the business head office is in the UK, like what you said initially, right? You tell me, are the operations going on smoothly in the UK whilst you're not there?
Oh yes, yeah. The operations are going on smoothly, and we've got teams, we've got directors, we've got a whole system that makes the business functional without me having to be there all the time. In fact, having a business that is entirely reliant on you to survive, it just makes it very difficult for the business to survive beyond you. In fact, they say that if you can't be away from your business, then it's not a business. You're not a business person.
You're self-employing yourself.
You're self-employing yourself. But our business has grown quite strong and exponentially to be able to be servicing the 25 African nationalities globally, and to have the systems to support the clients. So yeah, we try our best to make sure that but the key motivation beyond the business surviving beyond you is that it's part of the treating customers fairly. The business was not meant to service you. The business is meant to service the client. So the clients will continue to need the service beyond the individuals. And therefore, it should be an intergenerational thing. The business should be intergenerational. You are offering clients intergenerational financial security. So that intergenerational financial security should be able to span generations and to span decades of service. So that's how we look at things.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get down to the products or service that you guys are offering on the table, your offices, I know the head office in the UK, right? Do you have another or other offices around the
Yeah, we
globe?
just say it's made our head office is in the UK. Then we also have some support call center that will support the business. But our main office is the head office in the UK.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's our main head office.
That's lovely. And talk to me piece by piece in terms of the kind of services that are on the table that Diaspora Insurance are offering.
Yeah, Diaspora Insurance, the way it started, I think the key thing is to notice is that we are called Diaspora Insurance. And that in its own tells you that we are first movers in the market for the nature of the work we do. So in the beginning, there was nothing like what we do. And even now, imitation or competition is failing to catch up because what we do is very, very innovative and it's structured to help with the diasporans. Like I said, it was inspired by personal tragedies. So when we find ourselves going the extra mile, talking the language that ours is not work, ours is a calling, it's for real. We really have passion and we feel really honored to be delivering this product to the market. We feel like it's a privilege actually. Yeah, like I said, civilization is when people are able to create solutions for their common good. I've made the analogy of a drought happening. A drought happens in the bush, there's no water, animals will die because there's no water. Civilization means a people will dig wells, they will dig boreholes, they will build dams to deal with those eventualities and catastrophes. So that's when you say this is civilization, because people are creating solutions for their common good. And the same applies if you look at the way the diaspora as a people. We've got specific needs which are peculiar to us as diasporans. Diasporans are a transnational people, and we are transnational citizens who belong to more than one nation, more than one society. Our needs become peculiar. So you find that even when it comes to issues of insurance, there is the insurance gap in terms of what the mainstream insurance companies are doing for the mainstream mass market. With us as diasporans, we are a specialized niche market with very peculiar needs where you find yourself. I'm in the diaspora in the UK. Some diasporans may still have even their nucleus family, nucleus referring to self, spouse, and children. May even be split. Say that the spouse is in Australia, maybe the husband or the wife is still back in Kenya or is back in Zimbabwe or back in South Africa, whichever country they come from. And the children may not necessarily be together with the parents. So those kind of dynamics creates a lot of issues when it comes to insurance and personal protection, because it becomes very complicated in being inter-border and families being scattered. So we were looking to say, as a diaspora, we've got a challenge where our needs are completely unique and they need a unique solution. So that was again one of the things that informed what we do as Diaspora Insurance. So Diaspora Insurance, the main product that we do is a funeral policy. which is called Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan. And the Diaspora Funeral Cash Plan is a departure from the traditional funeral insurance. Because traditionally, the olden days, the yesteryear policy is a policy which is basically designed, but it was designed to say that you are born locally, you grow up locally, you die locally, you get buried locally. So if you are that localized, if the policy gives you a coffin and transport and do the burial, it means the funeral is done. The end of life expenses element is fixed.
So, Jeff, I want you to describe to me Diaspora Insurance. What exactly do they offer? You know?
Yeah.
But before you say that, viewers, the man here is going to tell us exactly what they offer.
Yeah, that's a very good question actually, because I would want to really explain what we offer as a company, and basically we exist for a reason. And the reason why Diaspora Insurance as a company has done so well, in fact, since inception, going 14 years now, there's no single year we didn't grow by double digit. So we've grown into a multinational, a multi-million dollar operation. And it's because what we do resonates with the needs of the target market. And the Diaspora Insurance was developed by Diasporans for Diasporans. What do I mean? What that means is that the covers that we do were structured in a manner that they speak to the needs of the target market. In fact, even from a financial advisory or regulatory point of view, it is important that when you are offering a product, it has to be suitable. It has to be suitable. You assess suitability, and that suitability is part of the treating customers fairly outcome, where your product should be able to speak to the needs of the market and should be able to address the needs of the market. But for us, it's not just the need. We also want to talk about the reality of an average diasporan. An average diasporan is a transnational citizen. We are people who belong to more than one society, more than one nation. And as the people who belong to more than one society, one nation, we want products that also are transnational in terms of what they can do for us. We don't want a policy that if it comes to issues of end of life expenses, issues of final, sometimes called final expenses or funeral expenses, you don't want a policy that may end up working harder for the insurer than the insured. We don't want a policy that ends up looking like the insurer is the one who was being insured because the product is wrong. Typically, what you find is you find sometimes people being sold policies that say when you pass on in this country, will help you, will take your body back to your home country. That's a very rigid solution which doesn't work when people's realities, when people's choices, when people's location change. Because issues of location, issues of choice, they are not fixed over the long term. They are both fluid. And as that happens, you want a policy that says if you choose to be buried abroad, the policy will work. If you choose to be taken home board repatriation, the policy will work. If, God forbid, something happens when you go back home to your country of origin and you suffer death there, and you say, my family, or the family decides to say, your family is offshore, maybe in Australia, maybe in UK, maybe in New York, and you say, we want to repatriate the body from Nairobi to New York, or we are taking the body from Harare to Sydney, your policy should still work for you. And over the long term, you can decide to say, I want to change my perception of things have changed. I want a policy that will be able to pay for my cremation. Your policy should still work. So what I'm simply saying is that a good policy should work irrespective of change of location, irrespective of change of choice, because your policy should always work for you rather than you being put in a fixed situation where you say, we'll take your body home. We'll take your body home. We want to be taken home, especially first generation migrants. Why? Because we prescribe, emotionally we belong back home most of the time. But that's not, again, not a fixed position, because over the long term you start to lose people who matter to you back home. And as that happens, you find a lot of first generation migrants also starting to be buried abroad. Because you have grown, you have been abroad so long, your children, you are probably by now a grandparent in the diaspora, and you say, people who matter to me back home are no longer there. Therefore, I want my police to work for me offshore. So we want, again, diasporans to have that comfort to say, the police that I'm paying for will work for me irrespective of what I choose to do, irrespective of where I am at the point of claim. Because you may be in Australia today, you may be in UK today, you may be in USA today, but give it another 10 years, 5 years, maybe you find a good opportunity somewhere, you move, or even if you don't move, maybe you're on holiday offshore, somewhere in a different country, and God forbid something happens to you there, your travel insurance refuses to pay, saying you traveled with a pre-existing medical condition. You want a policy that will work for you from anywhere in the world. That is a very, very critical point. I actually feel sad and sorry that there are a lot of diasporans who get sold a policy that says we'll take you back home, we'll give you a bus, we'll give you a generator, we'll give you this and that. And they will realize they made a mistake in 30 years' time when they become in the afternoons of their lives, when they realize that I'm no longer being taken home. My children are here in Australia or in UK or in USA. My grandchildren are here. I'm not going to be taken home because people who matter to me back home are no longer there. That's when you realize that you took a wrong policy. But you have spent 30 years paying for that. It doesn't make sense. You want a policy that says wherever you are, whatever you choose, you are going to use the same money. That's why we say diaspora insurance or diaspora funeral cash plan was designed by diasporans for diasporans because it speaks to the needs of the diasporans. What does the diaspora need as a transnational citizen? We want a worldwide cover, a protection without borders. So to simplify things and to make sure that people's policies are valid for the long term, all we offer is a diaspora funeral cash plan, a policy that is denominated in hard currency. It's a cash denominated funeral policy. Why cash? Cash knows no border. I want to be taken home. If my police gives the cash is in 30,000, use the same 30,000 to be taken home. Change over time. I want to be buried abroad. Use the same 30,000 to be buried abroad. I want cremation. Use the same 30,000. I want reverse repatriation. Use the same 30,000. Never be caught up in a situation where the policy is so rigid that if you bring the future into the present and create scenarios to say, what if this changes? What if this changes? The policy starts to fail. If it starts to fail, it means you're on the wrong policy. That's why we say people need to think through. When you are taking a policy like this, you may be blessed with longevity. And when you are blessed with longevity, you want a policy that will work for you in 30 years, 40 years, whatever long, however long we are blessed with. So our policy is a cash-based policy. Cash knows no border and it protects you wherever you are. But not only that, when a funeral happens, it's not just about the coffin, the transport that the funeral directors give you. A lot of families are left out of pocket because of those traditional policies. You got to deal with the prolonged funeral vigil. People are gathered off you, people are gathered back in your country. It's expensive. You find yourself with the things like church service, flowers, videography, photography, live streaming, all those things would need cash. Then you find yourself with family travel that would need cash. And beyond the burial itself, people then start to say, when are we doing memorial? How are you going to do memorial? The funeral director is gone. They've given you a coffin and did the burial and gone, who is going to pay for the memorial? Who is going to pay for the tombstone? Who is going to pay for the tombstone ceremony? And a typical diasporan, if you lose someone who met a back home, what you find is that you may fly back home to do for the burial. And when you get there, there are lots of bills waiting for you there. And you come back, you possibly will fly back home for the memorial service. A year later, you will fly back home for the tombstone ceremony. So only thing, say a parent who passes away back home, or a close relative who passes away back home, you may find yourself doing 3 trips. Who is paying for them? But not only that, what you also find is that most diasporans work in these jobs where you are paid as you work. You submit a timesheet to say, this week I've done this in 4 hours, and you then get paid. And if you have to deal with a funeral, who is going to work to do the hours for you? That is an opportunity cost where the financial cost of a funeral is not just the money you are pumping out, it's also the money you are losing by not being able to work. And again, with a good funeral policy, it should cover all those related costs. That's why we say, people, don't lock yourself on wrong policies. Just because you went home and you saw a funeral for an uncle or for Sabu Kumusha being buried, and you said, this is what I also want, you may never be buried in Kumusha. Probably in the village, someone is now, your homestead in the village is being looked after by someone who is working there, because everyone is left, parents are no longer there, and you are taking a policy that say you will be taken home. You may never be taken home, and you don't want to realize that in your afternoons to say that I took a policy when I was 40. I've been paying for it for the past 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and now I'm realizing that it won't work for me. But with the cash policy, there is no way you will say, we are stranded. We have 30,000 in the pocket. Cash is king. You can use it for any purpose. That's why we say to people, cash cover is the thing to go. But the other key point to remember about cash policies is that why it's very innovative and it has worked so well for families is that we do our policies as a hard currency. We do this policy as a hard currency. You only get Diaspora funeral cash plan from Diaspora Insurance as the Australian dollars, New Zealand dollars, pounds, euros, US dollars or Canadian dollars. Those are the currencies that we do. Why do we do that? There's time value of money, a factor. There's currency certainty and currency volatility. Those are factors that we want to consider. To say, if I'm blessed with long life, will my policy work and will my policy have good value in the long term? So we are again saying to people, if your policy is in hard currency, to make the point simple, let's flash back and say this is 1990. We are having this conversation in 1990. A friend of mine says, I would buy this executive policy, it's offering such a nice casket, and they are probably going to do this and that, the funeral directors. Fine. I say, in my little wisdom, I will take my policy as 10,000 pounds or maybe 20,000 Australian dollars. Fast forward time 1990 to now, that could be now 30 years from here going forward. You show up to your funeral director and say, I've got this executive policy to promise me this type of coffin. It's way out of fashion. And no one knows what the coffin looked like anyway. That's why you find a lot of families go to funeral directors and they are told, top up this, top up this, top up this, because no one knows what you bought. But if it's a 30,000 Australian dollars policy, you just cash in your 30,000 Australian dollars policy and buy the correct service from the best provider at the point of need. But in terms of value certainty, your policy has got a certain value, and you know that my policy is 30,000 and it's 30,000. Not some imaginary executive policy that does not exist. It only exists for the purposes of locking you with that provider. But when you want the service, they tell you top up this, top up this, top up this. You're almost as good as buying a new policy. Yeah, almost as good as. But so the point is that with a cash cover in hard currency, the value of your policy is clear. You know what you are paying for, you know what you will get, and it gives you all those benefits. That is a completely flexible policy, worldwide cover, and it has got very good, clear value. So that's why the Diaspora Insurance has done so well, and it has grown into a multi-million-dollar operation, and we've got clients globally, different nationalities, diasporans from 25 African countries, and we keep on adding more. It speaks to the needs and the reality of people. We treat our customers fairly by giving them a policy that works for them, not the insurer.
You know, viewers, when you sit down with an expert, you need to listen to them. Jeff has actually summarized the advantages of having diaspora insurance. Honestly speaking, I can't say anything more than that. Jeff, you know, you're an expert in this area, and this is lovely. You mentioned a number of things in there.
Yeah.
Right? And then there answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say, you said you're servicing 25 African countries. You did not mention to us and the viewers how many countries from diaspora that you are servicing for the diasporians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good follow-up question, and it's basically the way it works with the diaspora insurance is that we say the cover is available based on the country of origin. And when we say we are servicing 25 African, it's African diaspora nationalities. Meaning, if we say we are now covering Kenyans, we are covering Kenyans globe, all the Kenyans diasporas wherever they are. So they may be scattered, some in Japan, some in Nepal, some in USA, some in Australia, some in New Zealand, UK, wherever they are, we cover them.
Yeah.
Then the same applies if it's Zimbabweans, we cover them globally, wherever they are. And wherever they are, when they take a policy, we allow them to cover themselves in the diaspora, and they can also add the family members back home. If it's a Kenyan in Nairobi, if it's a South African, a mom in Soweto can be put on the policy. And when a claim happens, it's very simple. Within 24 hours of providing proof of death, we will settle. And when a claim happens, just getting the information, provide the proof of death, we validate. We've got ways of validating proof of the death, and the monies are paid out. Then if it's Zimbabwe, the same things. So our client is the diasporan, whom we allow to cover themselves, then also cover their loved ones wherever they are, because it's about peace of mind, and peace of mind comes from covering your loved ones as well, and making sure that you are covered yourself and you are also covering your loved ones. At the end of the day, it's about managing and mitigating the financial shocks that come with losing someone. And if you want to qualify diaspora death, it could be qualified to mean someone in the diaspora dying, or someone in the diaspora losing a very close relative back home, because either way, the financial shock is the diasporan's pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very informative and scary at the same time.
Yeah. In terms of the covers, it's not like if you will say people in Australia can cover up to 30,000. It's up to.
Up to, okay.
Yeah, when you speak to the advisor, they will give you the options. You choose what is comfortable. We would rather someone has a smaller cover than to have no cover at all. Because if you've got a smaller cover that you can afford, you can maintain it, it's easier that way. But having no cover is no option, because you end up with the crisis of a double trauma, having to breathe and begging. And you don't want that experience. I've gone through that experience. It's not something I would wish on anyone.
Yeah. You've managed to say a lot in terms of the people that need to be covered. Can you just give me, whilst we're wrapping up our discussion, one advice for business people?
One advice for business people is that I think I did touch on that before. As a business person, always make sure that you invest in systems and you invest in human capital that can sustain your business without you. Your business was not set up to service you. Your business was set up to service your clients. And when you die, you don't die with your clients. Your business should not die.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. And Jeff, you're a father. Just a quick question in there. What advice do you have for dads?
Yes, it's very important for the dads to always make sure that you are always available for your children and make sure you train your children. Sometimes we don't realize that if we don't show up for our children, we show up in misguide them. So always be there. Thank you.
Just Madzingo. Amazing discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Viewers, admire that of business. My that of business.